And so Evan Smith takes a commanding lead into the third and final day of the Promation Corduroy Enduro. Will Philip Cheney continue his winning streak for Canada? Will Tristan Hart take command of the lead over Evan Smith? Smith tried to tie up those overall wins at 32 for the United States and add his name to that coveted corduroy trophy dating back to 1953. And now the Promation Corduroy Enduro presented by GP Bikes. The Halliburton Highlands set the scene once again for the 66th running of the Corduroy Enduro. This rugged northern landscape is both beautiful and challenging. It's one of the biggest players in this 3-day-long finale of the Canadian National Enduro Championship. Over 300 riders from across Canada and the U.S. meet up each September to test their mettle against the terrain, conditions, and each other. Standing in the way of that top step of the podium for these elite riders, 22 test sections over 3 days of competition. 350 kilometers of rugged Canadian Shield terrain. Stay tuned for lots of never-before-seen footage of the Promation Corduroy Enduro presented by GP Bikes, including lots of racing action from 34 cameras, 5 drones, and unprecedented helmet camera footage from our top pro riders. All as the Promation Corduroy Enduro, Canada's National Championship finale weekend, here on Rev TV.
Let's go on.
This broadcast of the Promation Corduroy Enduro is brought to you in part by Promation, world-class automation, robotics, and tooling systems. GP Bikes has you covered head to toe. Kawasaki, let the good times roll. Hello everyone and welcome to day 3 of the Promation Corduroy Enduro presented by GP Bikes. Pat Gonzalez along with 7-time Cord champion Blair Sharpless. And Blair, it was a beautiful weekend of weather until this morning. The rains have arrived. That's going to change everything for the riders.
Yeah, it's, I mean, right now all it's done is put the dust down. It'll make the rocks a little slick, but it's made it a lot nicer for the riders conditions-wise so far with the dust not being there, because it's really hard. You know, you're in a pack of riders, can't see the rocks. And I've cut the novice riders out of a section they were going to run just in case because of the rain, give them a little more time. And other than that, I think it'll be a great day. Definitely going to be better for our final motocross without the dust.
Well, going into this final day, Jefferson, Georgia's Evan Smith is your leader. He's got over 2 minutes on Phil Cheney. Cheney, the defending champion, he's got some catching up to do today.
And then we've got Tristan Hart right in there too. So I think we're going to have some good racing today. With the rain, we'll see what happens. They got to go over Greens Mountain again. So going to be a good day.
Well, for all of these riders, one of the things that they're all shooting for is that finisher medal. We've got a number of riders running in their very first Corduroy Enduro, but as Blair said yesterday, we had a lot of riders get DQ'd because they did not finish the test. Behind us, you see the sea of motorcycles ready to roll out here shortly as we wrap up this Promation Corduroy Enduro presented by GP Bikes.
Day 3's course starts off with a 15-kilometer transit down to the butt test.
Butt test has got a little bit of an enduro cross section, great test through the woods, some new sections added this year. So after the butt test, another transit down to the Catva Trail. Brand new trail for this year, short little test. All the novice riders will not ride the Catva test or the next one, Fast Eddies, which should be a good test for the experts and pros. Then to Gas 2, pros, experts, they go into the Waterfall Trail, probably one of the more difficult and long trails this weekend. Then they join back up with all the classes to ride the 20H Hunt Camp Trail. And from there, very short little transit up to the Penn State Trail, and then they all go up and ride Greens Mountain. So after Greens, everybody back to the finish. Pro riders have a final motocross test to run. A shorter day today, but all of the transits today are off-road and trail.
GP Bikes is Canada's power sports authority. Your one-stop shop for parts, accessories, apparel, motorcycles, and service. Street, off-road, adventure, ATV, snow, and marine. Order online or come visit our 50,000 square foot showroom stacked floor to ceiling with all your favorite brands. Our friendly expert staff can help you get geared up for your next adventure. Find what you need for your ride at gpbikes.com. You're watching the Promation Corduroy Enduro here on Rev TV. While getting set for the butt test to kick off day number 3 of the Corduroy Enduro, and Blair, that light rain this morning has made certainly the grass portions a little bit slick.
Yeah, very slippery. We watch here, Jake Michaud goes down, got into that corner a little hot, lost the traction, very little traction out there, as you can see.
And Jake jumps right back on that KTM, having won one of our tests yesterday as he is underway. Here's Graham Robotham out of Cayuga, Ontario, as he gets underway here with the butt test.
And Graham goes down in the corner right after the jumping through the cabin there. The first riders have it very tough. There's no berms in the corners, no ruts. Tristan Hart looks like he's just taking it easy. He's going to get through everything and not make any mistakes. He's looking towards a long day where hopefully he can make up some time on Philip Cheney.
Some treacherous obstacles here off the start, including the run through the beer can pit, as we look at Philip Cheney leading a group that includes Ryder Heacock and Jeremy Dodlin there on the 6B machine.
Yeah, Ryder Heacock had a great day yesterday. He's sitting in 5th overall. A great ride for him when you consider the 4 riders in front of him are very accomplished riders. On board with Connor Brogan. Let's see if he can turn today around. Not too happy with yesterday, I don't think. He had some few problems and his times were a little off. Last year, Sunday was the day that Connor made some real headway, so let's hope he has a good day today.
Well, Connor's going to have a spectacular third day here if he wants to move up into the top 5. And these are some challenging man-made sections there as we ride on board with Connor Brogan aboard the Yamaha as he runs it down through that beer can pit.
Yeah, and into the woods. This test, a little bit of the enduro cross thing there just for fun. It's not much for the pros, but when the amateurs get there, it makes things exciting. Here we're watching the end of the test with Connor through the ferns here. It's a nice ride. Even with the rain we've had, it's still good traction as he comes into the finish of the test. Evan Smith, off he goes through the cabin with Dylan McRitchie following him again. He'll just take it easy through the slippery stuff and he'll wait for it to dry up, and I'm sure he's got a good lead. He's going to play it cautious today and just ride smart and make sure he doesn't make any big mistakes to lose that lead.
Nick Ferringer, as he leads a group of expert riders here. But Evan Smith going into this final day does have a bit of a cushion to work with, Blair, and it'll be interesting to see just how aggressive he's going to be.
So we're picking up the women pro here. Corinne Belisle coming through the cabin, being very careful through the grass. She gets through the rocks and then over the spools and over the tires nice and clean.
spoke too soon. Bullwinkle had to give her a little hand here.
Corinne had been 8th coming into this final day of competition, but gets through that section. And now we go back to Christine Lessard on the KTM, their 15E.
And Christine comes through over the tires, no help needed for her. And she's off on a start of a good day for her, hopefully.
Kristen Broderick on the 16E, Carolyn Bassinet on 15D.
They're both having trouble here. Pat, look at Kristen got turned sideways, and then she does okay. Meanwhile, Carolyn's she's going to need a little help to get her bike over the tires there, but off and rolling after that.
And now we go back with Melissa Harton, one of a couple of riders within shot of our overall leader.
Yeah, she came through there, no problems whatsoever. She obviously has done some of this kind of riding before. And here's our leader, Shelby Turner. You can tell why. You just have to watch Shelby ride. You can tell why she's won every single test and also national Enduro Cross champ in the States.
Now we go back to Jenny Mancini on the 20E machine and Janine Devon-Lamontagne on the 21E. So most of the women pro riders are underway here on this opening test of day 3. Lexi Pichu being followed here by our drone operator, Dan Rovere. As we look at this fight, they're in 2 different classes, but Lexi Pichu running right with the expert rider from Massachusetts, Brendan Dwyer. And Blair, she is right there on the same pace, but these are some great shots from the drone camera being operated by Dan Rovere.
Yeah, I wonder if she's going to get by him in the obstacles. Lexi was the Enduro Cross champion in the States before Shelby took over that title. So I think she'll probably come through that part rather well.
She came into this final day of the cord a little over 11 minutes back of our overall leader, Shelby Turner. And now we look at Stephanie Yankovic, who is on the 24A machine there. She is in women's intermediate, having a pretty good run here, part of the Dirt Riding Dames crew.
And here we've got some of the amateurs doing a little adjustments and that sort of thing. 15-kilometer transit, and then there was a gas stop, just because in this part of the country we can't get the gas truck in everywhere, so we got to gas them at 15 kilometers out to get them to the next gas.
And there we see Rome Haloftis and Chris Zanelli, those 2 riders racing off of the line, and they continue to have problems out here in that very, very slick dirt. And if you get off the dirt onto the grass, it's even more so.
Yeah, oh, there's someone going over the bars. Yeah, the grass is getting burned up a little bit. So for these late riders, they may have traffic to deal with in these tires. You can see they're not getting through here as easily as some of the other riders. But the corners are going to be better for them. They're not going to be sliding around as much once they get burned up.
Scott Thornton there, the ex-NHL star, who's an excellent rider on his KTM. He is through that particular section. And there's the 30B of Vince Mary out of Bellwood, Ontario on his Husqvarna.
I like Andrew Chambers' method here. Rev it up, clean it out, and launch it over the tires. He seems pretty happy with the results, but I hope his bike isn't buried somewhere now. And one of our vintage riders there, he gets through there no problem. Very intense look on his face, but he got through okay.
So Evan Smith wins another test here, taking our opening test of day 3, the butt test, over Philip Cheney, Tristan Hart, Nick Feringer, and Dylan McCritchie round out your top 5.
Coming up, more from the Halliburton Highlands and the Corduroy Enduro.
And now we go on board with Philip Cheney, who continues to chase our overall leader, Evan Smith. But Blair, he is about 2 minutes back. Can you make that up with just a handful of tests still left to run here today?
Philip has to have a perfect day today if he plans on catching Evan, and he needs to stay in front of Tristan too. As Tristan acclimatizes himself to the corduroy and the terrain, I think he's going to be stronger today than he was yesterday or day 1.
Before the weekend, we had a chance to catch up with 2-time cord champ Philip Cheney.
I feel very strong. I do last weekend I go to GNCC and ride good, so but they have a lot of competition. Evan Smith from GNCC, Nick Feringer from US too, with Tristan Hard, the faster guy in Canada, I think. So Kevin Dupuis too, from US. So we have a couple guys too in Ontario. Connor, we ride very fast last year, so we have a good battle coming this weekend. I can't wait for. We be I think the best corduroy for the people to check, because everybody will be close during the weekend.
Well, it was a great test here for the Kawartha ATV Association Trail, and it was once again Evan Smith with the win, but just 2 seconds over Philip Cheney, so it continues to be right around 2 minutes between those two riders. There you see Nick Feringer in third, Tristan Hart and Jeremy Lantier rounding out the top 5. Connor Brogan just out of the top 5 there in sixth. Ryder Heacock seventh.
Short transit down to Fast Eddie's from the Catfoot test. Easy transit, little water crossing here, but the water's way down. Just got to be careful you don't hit a rock under the surface and tip over, because that can just ruin your day, filling the bike full of dirty water. So just around the corner is where they start Fast Eddie's. Long test, technical test. I think the riders are going to enjoy it, and it's going to make a difference to the scores today.
Connor Brogan getting ready to roll off, and we'll ride on board with him as we kick off Fast Eddie's. Connor Brogan coming into this test 7th overall, Blair, and I think he would have figured he'd be right up there at least in the top 5. So he's looking to finish strong as he did a year ago here in the Corduroy Enduro.
Yeah, I don't think this is the weekend Connor had planned when he was headed off to the Corduroy. Not the ride he had the year before.
And earlier we caught up with Connor Brogan, the Yamaha rider, about his prospects for the Cord.
My dad and I rode it for my very first time when I was just a kid, and I won the youngest finisher here, so there's a lot of history at this event with our family, but it's awesome. My mom makes sure we're taken care of, and absolutely nothing is needed on our end. My sister's here helping out. It's a whole family event, and it just makes it that much cooler of an experience, and it definitely adds to the whole weekend. Last year was a really good year for me. Everything went really, really well, and to win this year with the list of guys would be absolutely huge. I come into this with no expectations, because it's 3 days is a long time to ride, and you just go and have fun, and at the end of the day, however you finish, it's it.
Yeah, Connor's a strong competitor, great attitude, always got a smile, great guy to have around at the races, and he always does a good job for Yamaha.
As we look at the final results here of Fast Eddie's, Nick Feringer takes his first win of the Corduroy Enduro on the Sherco. Tristan Hart in second, Evan Smith finishing third.
Coming up, more from the Halliburton Highlands and the Corduroy Enduro. And now back to the 66th running of the Promation Corduroy Enduro, presented by GP Bikes.
Now as we look at the expert results, Zach Cleland finishes in fourth. He'll stay within contention of Graham Madas and Cameron Harris, along with Benjamin Racine, who had a good third place finish there.
After Fast Eddie's, the riders headed to gas number 2, where Natasha LaChapelle had a chance to talk to some of the riders.
So here we have Zach Attack with us. Yesterday you were in the top 3. Today, what are your goals?
Well, I want to try to make up the time, and try to get up to the top. But I just struggled on that last test. I had some issues. I got stuck on this bridge. I got stuck in the mud, but I'm just trying to have a consistent, good day and see if I can make up some time.
Yesterday, before putting your bike into impound, did you do any mechanics on it?
No, not really. I just, all I did was look the bike over and made sure everything was tight and good, and just put it in the impound.
What happened? You have some blood all over your face.
I was just looking back to make sure I wasn't holding anybody up in the transfer, and then when I looked forward, there was just this little slab rock, and it just caught my front tire and just launched me into a tree.
So, Shelby Turner, you're dominating the women's pro class. How was your first cord going for you today? Yesterday, how did it go?
Yeah, yesterday was awesome. I put in, all my tests were really good. Today was going really good. In that last section, they had a pretty slippery bridge, and I had to wait for a bit, but yeah, it's been really good. It's fun. The rain today definitely adds a new element that we didn't have yesterday, so yeah, it's good.
Do you have any goals for today?
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep it on 2 wheels. Just be consistent, be steady, and just have fun.
Cool. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
So yesterday you won your Vet A class with 58 seconds. You're riding on your Kawasaki 450 motocross bike. How is your first cord going for you today?
Well, today it's going pretty good, and we only had one test so far, and it was kind of like a motocross track. So it was pretty cool. I wish I knew the layout better so I could send it a little bit more off the jumps and that, but anyway, it was fun. That transfer section was gnarly, like rocky and everything. I'm not used to this stuff, man. It was crazy.
Here's how American Evan Smith has done so far in his very first Corduroy Enduro. Here's a look at his report card. It's pretty darn good, mostly A+.
He has struggled with this.
Yeah, so there was a bridge. It was probably, I don't know, 15 feet long or so, down a ditch, like in a ditch, and it was like angled to one side. Half the boards were broken, and it was covered in mud. And when I got there, there was somebody stuck on the right, and just I think everybody slid off the side of it and got stuck. It was hard.
We both grabbed the handlebars. Try to pick up the front end and drag it out. 1, 2, 3. Just keep pulling. Oh, nice, buddy. Give it gas. I'll push on you. Hey, man. Have fun. My good deed for the day.
Thank you. Cheers, man. Cheers.
I heard that you fell on the bridge and you broke a few things on your bike and your helmet.
Yeah, I broke my helmet and my one pegs on the left, but I lost maybe 20 seconds. I can see if I know even he crashed too. Try to pass there, and I need to wait a little bit to pass it. When I pass, I crash 2 times on it. It's like a ice on it.
Okay, well, be careful for the rest of the race and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Tristan, today so far with the results that I have, you're in third, 12 seconds behind Phil. How's today going for you and how's the rain treating you?
Darn, Phil got me again. It's going pretty well. It rained pretty hard on us at one point, and we all had to ditch our goggles for a bit, but the tests are all pretty good. The first MX test was sweet. There was a motocross track. It's going pretty well so far.
Cool, and do you have anything, is this rain to your advantage, disadvantage? How do you like it?
Maybe disadvantage. I don't think I'm the best rain rider. I'm a little cautious when it starts raining, so we'll see.
My goals today were to try to make up some ground on the lead pack. I don't mind the weather, I don't mind the rain so much, but the ground here can be slippery, so I tend to err on the cautious side, so maybe things will tack up and I'll start clicking a little here with the rest of the day coming.
Wish you the best of luck at the end of the motocross test as well.
Cool, thanks. See you out there.
The Promation Corduroy Enduro, presented by GP Bikes, 1953 to 2023. Join us in Gooderham, Ontario, September 21st to 24th.
While Nick Fahringer was clicking in that Fast Eddie's test, he in fact won it, his very first test win of the weekend.
So from Gas 2, the pros, experts, and the A classes, they all just short transit to the Waterfall Trail, which is a 9K trail. A very technical trail. We got a couple creek crossings. Of course, they got to drop down some ledges at the waterfall. So it's a great test. Here we are on board with Curtis Rumble as he starts into the Waterfall Trail.
And Curtis Rumble currently sitting 16th overall as we look at him on that KTM out of Toronto, really hustling that motorcycle, trying to hopefully move up into the top 10. Oh, and he goes down.
You know, I know this spot very well. Every time I've pre-rode, I've lost the front end. I haven't gone down, but of course I wasn't at race speed. But it's very slippery. A lot of moss on that big flat rock.
We go on board with Zach Attack. Zach Cleland, one of our top expert riders.
And they've just come to the waterfall. This is where they're snaking their way down, and this is a waterfall. Not a lot of water over it right now. And there's 3 ledges they have to drop down. Last year we ran it in the opposite direction. We had a huge bottleneck as the bikes were all trying to get up the ledges. But this year we made it easy on them.
And here at the Waterfall test, you can see Tristan Hart taking his second win of the weekend after being victorious in the Blackberry test earlier. Philip Cheney in second, Nick Fahringer another good run up in a third. That is a very close battle, Blair, for second and third overall. Both Tristan Hart and Philip Cheney chasing our overall leader going all the way back to day one, Evan Smith, as we ride on board with Zach Cleland, one of our top expert riders, and he is right there for the overall among the expert class machines.
Here we are at the end of 20H, and everybody's huddling around Cheney, who's carrying his phone with him, so he's able to check the results right after the test. Tristan now knows he's moved past Cheney, and they're just checking out their scores and see there's Evan Smith beside him. Now McRitchie's in there. McRitchie appears to have bent his shifter or broken it right off. That's going to slow him down a little bit.
Well, another test win for Evan Smith, and there you can see the consistency, Blair. He has not relinquished the lead overall since the opening test back on Friday. It's been flip-flopping back and forth between our top two Canadian riders, Tristan Hart currently in second, but Philip Cheney right there in the number 3 spot. Looks like those two riders are going to go right to the end to settle second and third.
Yeah, and those 2 circles on there, that shows 5th place is absent because that was rider Heacock, and it's going to be interesting to find out what happened to him in the Waterfall Trail. He dropped 16 minutes extra in the Waterfall Trail, and now it seems to be carrying on into 20H. He's way back in that, so I think something's happened to his bike that's slowing him down.
Well, looks like he will get a 18th place finish here in 20H, and that's going to take him even further back.
You're watching the Promation Corduroy Enduro here on Rev TV. The 2023 Promation Corduroy Enduro presented by GP Bikes, September 21st through 24th in Gooderham, Ontario. Join us for 4 days of manufacturers' off-road demo rides, e-mountain bike and electric motorcycle enduros, as well as, of course, the 2 days of the national enduro classes. That's all at the Promation Corduroy Enduro presented by GP Bikes.
We're on board with Philip Cheney, currently sitting third overall behind Evan Smith and Tristan Hart. This is the transit down to our next test at Penn State. And Blair, we've got a group of riders gathered here ready to do battle here in this test.
Looks like Cheney's got a good run going. He just went by Justin Brazeau, also on a KTM. This Penn State Trail, a lot of work's been done on it this year by John Nelson and Mark Butt from St. Ange. They've added a lot of new trail into it to make it more interesting. This trail originally is called Penn State because Matt Spiegelmeier, many-time winner of the Corduroy, and his brother and his buddies came up early one year, and I wanted to get this trail started here, and they cut it, and they're from Penn State, Pennsylvania, so that's why the name on this trail.
Well, it's another American rider who will take the win here in this Penn State test. There you can see the Husqvarna rider continues to dominate, and now Tristan Hart has a slim 10-second advantage over Philip Cheney with just a couple of tests to go.
And that was Cheney just went down there, so that's probably makes the difference. One little fall, you know, costs you those seconds, even if nothing's hurt or broken. But great test here, and now they go back into some of the stuff they've ridden this morning, part of the butt test, and that it'll finish. I believe it finishes in the same spot as the butt test did. So I noticed Jeremy Lanthier had a very good ride here. I think this might be his second, 5th place of the weekend, so he's breaking in the top 5 a couple times.
And then I think right behind, Charles Tremblay there in 6th, another fine run for him. And that'll match his best result in any of the tests so far. But it is Evan Smith who has been dominant since the opening test. Just a couple to go for him to win his very first Corduroy Enduro.
Coming up, more from the Halliburton Highlands and the Corduroy Enduro. The Corduroy Enduro, Canada's toughest motorcycle national enduro since 1953.
Here we are on board with Philip Cheney as they transit up to Greens Mountain following Jeremy Dodlin. Easy transit up to Greens. As they arrive at Greens here, you'll see some of the crews have gotten placed because some of the riders, top riders, are going to change to a super gummy, a super soft tire, which will give them extra grip on the rock ledges. As we watch our Ballistic Films crew chief here, Mike Bell, installing cameras on everybody's bikes, we're going to have super coverage for you.
Well, we've got Connor Brogan, Tristan Hart, Philip Cheney, and Evan Smith all carrying Those onboard helmet cams should give us some great footage of the racing.
And now we're going to see the story of what happened to Ryder Heacock here. It seems he's broken the chain guide right off his bike. That's probably what cost him those 16 minutes in the Waterfall trail.
So it broke off in the Waterfall test, and he lost about 10 minutes in there trying to smash it off because it all jammed up in the chain. So 3 days of riding for a little piece of wood, so it's all good. Finish it off.
And we are away. A lot of the top riders heading out here. Tristan Hart, Philip Cheney, Evan Smith, Dylan McCritchie. All of these riders sitting there in the top 10 overall, and everybody chasing Evan Smith. And Blair, this has been as dominant a performance by a rider here in the Corduroy Enduro. As we look at Dylan McCritchie, he's having some problems here, currently sitting 5th overall.
Yeah, obviously not what he wanted to have happen on that first ledge. He's going to have to find a way around the next two now. He'll take a roundabout route here, but it's cost him a bit of time. Dylan obviously isn't the expert in the extreme terrain like Tristan Hart. But Dylan comes down the backside of the mountain, Greens Mountain, very well here, picking a good line. Rocks are still very slick from the morning rain we had. Lots of people get out to this test to cheer the riders on.
And now we go on board with Connor Brogan, looking to make a move late in the Corduroy Enduro. And now this is the camera shot from Zach Cleland, one of our top expert riders, as he tries to chase down Connor Brogan on that Yamaha.
Yeah, it's great. We get Connor's view and then we get Zach's view of Connor. Connor's making lines as he goes here, trying to straighten the trail out and get a good test. Looks like he's doing well there. Here we come to the steps up at the top of the mountain, and Connor's decided to forget about the steps. He's going to take the slower or longer, rounder route. He did that last year, and it actually worked for him. He won Greens Mountains last year, but I don't know if it's going to do it for him this time. It looks very smooth in this part. Lots of people know Connor in the area and cheering him on. Here's Nick Farringer.
And Nick has had a solid run here on that Sherco, nicely up that rock ledge as we look at the technique.
Yeah, Nick has a lot of experience in the rocks. He comes from Ohio, I think, somewhere around there, but he obviously does very well in the extreme enduros, the harder terrain, and he's just flying down the backside here. I think his comments at the second gas today says, I'm going to try to catch up to these guys. Well, he's sure putting a charge on now. Look at the difference in speed here down the backside. He's just on the gas, front end's lifting, and he's trying to have a great finish to his first corduroy.
As we look at how this test would finish up, there's Philip Cheney trying to chase Tristan Hart. Cheney, the two-time court champion, not quite as good as Farringer up that rock ledge.
No, he's lacking a little bit of style there, that's for sure, isn't he, Pat? But hey, there's a lot of effort there, and there's no way he's backing off. He's going to get up there one way or another, just feet flailing and everything. But he knows it's a one-shot deal. If you don't make it up those ledges, it's going to cost you a lot of time.
Well, Philip Cheney would go on to finish 4th in this test, and that will run him a little bit further back of Tristan Hart, who's trying to catch for second place. But Philip, as always, hard charger, and will end, as we said, 3rd overall in this test. GP Bikes is Canada's power sports authority. Your one-stop shop for parts, accessories, apparel, motorcycles, and service. Street, off-road, adventure, ATV, snow, and marine. Order online or come visit our 50,000 square foot showroom stacked floor to ceiling with all your favorite brands. Our friendly expert staff can help you get geared up for your next adventure. Find what you need for your ride at gpbikes.com. This broadcast of the Promation Corduroy Enduro is brought to you in part by KTM Ready to Race.
Here we go with Tristan here. Tristan entering the test. Tristan has a really good run in here. Evan still beats him, but I believe through the technical part up and over the mountain, I'm sure Tristan was the quickest in that part. But Evan, there's a lot of trail connected to this technical part, and Evan Smith, as he has all weekend, has shown the people the way when it gets to be trail, flowing trail, single track. He's very quick through it.
And of course, he's been able to pass Philip Cheney for second overall here on day number 3 as we ride on board with the KTM rider Tristan Hart. And of course, coming up, our final test, Blair, that MX test, that is where he will really shine.
Yeah, he does very well in the in that style of test. Obviously, last year he won the Enduro Cross championship in the States. So here he goes up the ledges, no problem whatsoever. As we have a camera shot, I believe, of watching him go up there, and you'll see very little wheel spin on the pegs the whole way. Here we go here. This is absolute textbook technique up here. It's what the trials riders call a splatter. He punches his front wheel into that first ledge, which bounces him out and up and over the ledge, and he stays on the pegs. So here he's coming down here. Takes his time down here. He's not wide open like Nick Farringer. I think Nick had an unbelievable ride down here. You'll see Tristan picks his way. He's not making mistakes. Downhill, slippery rocks is a place where, yeah, you can make some time, but it could be a disaster because you fall going downhill. It's really going to hurt.
Tristan Hart looking to hang on to second overall, but Blair, any shot at catching Evan Smith, I think that is just not going to happen here today. But he'll look to hang on to that second overall as we come to the conclusion here of test number 21 on the weekend, Greens Mountain.
Yeah, I think we're on board with Tristan still as he's finishing coming down the backside. We just saw the camera shot of him, and now we're on board with him. He's continuing to pass some of the expert riders in front of him. He's picking his way through. He looks like he's up to row 2 now, so he's got a few minutes in front of him. And he's coming into the finish here. Strong finish for him. And underneath the scoring antenna there. So now on board with Evan.
And Evan Smith has been just dominant going back to day 1 on that Husqvarna 350. He's got a 2-minute and 41-second advantage over Tristan Hart currently overall, and he has just been absolutely brilliant. Out of Jefferson, Georgia, had an incredible year in the United States, and he's come up here to the Corduroy Enduro for the first time and has really been dominant going back to that very first test on Friday.
I see there he picked a different line than most of the riders in that part. You can see from these onboard shots how demanding technically this whole test is, going up the one side and down the other side. It's called a mountain. By Ontario standards, it's a mountain. The Western guys from BC, they kind of laugh when we call it a mountain, but as far as in the area, it's pretty steep, so, and lots of rocks, so it's still very technical. Here we got Evan coming up towards the steps, and we've got a shot of him here. Not quite the technique, but he's going to get the job done. He keeps the bike moving forward, and of course he changed to that super gummy tire, and you can see how it tracks. Those rocks are still moist from the rain this morning, and it tracks straight up them, no problems whatsoever. It makes a super difference for these riders when they can change out to a different tire, because this tire wouldn't last all weekend. If he rode it all weekend, by the time he got to this test, or even if he rode it on all day, the tire would be toast because it takes the edge off it very quickly.
So Evan Smith would win yet another test here in the Greens Mountain Run. Here he is coming up to the conclusion of the run. We'll take a commanding lead into our final test.
So here we have all the styles compared. We have the perfect style of Tristan Hart in your upper left, and then we have Nick Farringer right below him, who also does a very good job here. Keeps his feet on the pegs in that. But then Evan Smith and Philip Cheney, you know, unfortunately they got off the pegs early when they hit this and got sideways. You'll notice that all the wheels slide sideways up that first ledge right at the top, but Tristan keeps the one foot planted on the peg, driving that tire down, and he just foots with the 1 foot where everybody else is paddling, and that keeps the bike going straight and under control.
You're watching the Promation Corduroy Enduro here on Rev TV. This broadcast of the Promation Corduroy Enduro is brought to you in part by Promation, world-class automation, robotics, and tooling systems. GP Bikes has you covered head to toe.
This is what every rider who finishes the Corduroy Enduro receives, regardless of class, a Corduroy Enduro finisher medal. It is a prized possession. Here's Graham Robotham completing his test, and he'll put that finisher medal on his wife's neck. A big hug and congratulations from the wife of the Cayuga, Ontario rider on that KTM.
I'm sure a lot of you guys know Matt Spiegelmeier, so a big thanks to Matt Spiegelmeier and his crew. He's been training Americans to bring them up here and race for years, and we tried last year. We got our butt handed to us, so then Matt talked to Blair and he said, "We'll get them up in front, it'll be a little bit easier."
The reason why they're all laughing there is running number one like Jeremy did all weekend is not easy. He was breaking trail for everybody. As we watch Andy McGill, local rider, coming in, getting his finish medal, and our top women's pro rider. She dominated the class all weekend, Shelby Turner from Alberta. Dylan McRitchie, another U.S. rider who came up for his first cord, and he gets his finisher medal.
Chris Zanelli, 39E, veteran expert rider, and right there with his good friend Rome Haloftis out of Mississauga, also riding in vet expert. Let's take a look at our overall expert class results, where American riders dominated the podium, as the overall win goes to Graham Madas on his Husqvarna with a great performance over the 3 days. Zach Cleland was right there, had a shot at the overall win, comes up just a little bit short on his KTM, but he provided us with some incredible onboard video footage. Finishing third was Cameron Harris on his Husqvarna, then Jared Borges on the KTM fourth, and rounding out the top five, the top Canadian on the Beta was Benjamin Racine. And so we look at the women's pro class, where Shelby Turner was absolutely dominant throughout the weekend on her KTM. The Alberta rider won every one of the tests. Finishing second, Melissa Harton chased her all weekend long, just couldn't get there on her Beta. Finishing third, Lexi Pichu on her Husqvarna, a great weekend for her, finishes third. Just ahead of Jenny Devon Lamontagne, who was fourth on her Husqvarna. And then rounding out the top five, another KTM rider, Christian Broderick. All five of those women hail from the western provinces.
Coming up, more from the Haliburton Highlands and the Corduroy Enduro. This broadcast of the Promation Corduroy Enduro is brought to you in part by Kawasaki. Get out and play.
All of the pro riders have been split into various motos here for our Corduroy Enduro motocross final. There you see the riders lining up here in moto number one. Dylan McRitchie, the top rider in terms of the overall points going into this final test, as they are away, charge into turn number one. And there you see the battle already for the lead, and it looks like, yes, that's Ryder Heacock has gone down.
Yeah, Riders weekend it fell apart today with Chain Guy busting off his bike in the Waterfall Trail, and now even where he could redeem the day and maybe enjoy something, he goes down the first corner. So he's going to have to play catch up here.
Theo Lepley, the early leader in this first moto, followed by Dylan McRitchie with Justin Brassot on the 4C machine running in third. But it would be McRitchie who would get around Lepley to take the win here in moto number one. Brassot third, Heacock came back to finish fourth. Here in moto number two, Gabriel Collette, Donald DeRoche, Robotham, Patterson, and Rumble off the line, charging into turn one. And Blair, it would be Curtis Rumble in the lead, but that didn't last long as he put it on the ground.
Yeah, that's a shame. Now Gabriel Collette takes off from everyone. Looks like he's going to be unchallenged for this moto. Has a bit of a runaway time of it. 11 seconds out front of DeRoche by the finish of the test.
This was indeed a runaway win in moto number 2 for Gabriel Colette on that Yamaha. There you can see just how far back DeRoche is, along with Robotham, who is there in 3rd. And again, these riders, for the most part, running just outside of the top 10 overall, but it was Gabriel Colette, the winner in Moto 2. Getting set for Moto number 3, Charles Tremblay, Connor Brogan should be one of the riders to watch here as the crowd watches as the riders off the line. They charge into turn 1. We're on board with Connor Brogan as they battle into that second turn.
That's Dupuis who got the whole shot there. He pulls away. Charles Tremblay got a little sideways. Connor's getting passed down the first straight here. Looks like he's sitting in 5th. No, up into 4th. So Dupuis out front there, coming out of the trees, got a little sideways. Looking like he's trying to put a gap on the rest of the pack here. Have a last test, good positive result as he comes into the first obstacle.
There he is. Oh, big crash off of that jump.
Oh, look at the reaction of the crowd here. Yeah, Dupuis just caught his last, his wheel on that last log, puts him down on the ground. Everybody gets by him. Connor's by him, and now Charles Tremblay has inherited the lead.
So Charles Tremblay running out in front, Connor Brogan giving chase, but that was a hard crash by the early leader, Dupuis.
Yeah, that was Tremblay passing for the lead there. He went by Jeremy LeBreton, and now he's trying to pull away. Connor's made it up into 2nd now. Obviously, Dupuis going down benefited those riders. Tremblay seems to be just cruising to the finish now. He's pulled out a bit of a gap on Connor, and he's going to end up winning this 3rd moto.
Now we go to our 4th and final moto. These are all our top riders in terms of the overall championship. Tristan Hart will grab the whole shot.
Followed by Evan there. Evan's in a good spot, so Evan knows he's got time on Tristan Hart. He's just got to sit there and watch Tristan ride. He doesn't have to try anything, and he's won his first corduroy.
Well, he's won so many of the tests, he's just going to protect that margin that he has coming into this final event, looking to win his first corduroy enduro in his first trip here to the Halliburton Highlands as we ride on board with Tristan Hart continuing to hold off the overall leader Evan Smith in 2nd on that Husqvarna, and then Philip Cheney back there in 3rd.
Yeah, so Tristan's going to put even a bigger gap on Phil Cheney. Unfortunately, Cheney's not going to be able to close it up and fight for that 2nd place. Nick Farringer, great ride. He ends up 4th in this moto, and I think that's going to put him into 4th overall.
This is a pretty good battle going on there for that 3rd place position between Philip Cheney and Nick Farringer. Jeremy Lantier back in 5th. As we come up to the checkered flag here momentarily as they work the last few corners. The win here in Moto 4 goes to Tristan Hart. Evan Smith in 2nd. That'll put a lock on the overall corduroy championship. Philip Cheney in 3rd, Nick Farringer and Jeremy Lantier. And there is our leaderboard. What a weekend for Evan Smith, Tristan Hart, and Philip Cheney 2nd and 3rd, Farringer in 4th, and McCritchie in 5th. 3 Americans, 2 Canadians in the top 5.
Yeah, and that ties up things between American riders winning the cord and the Canadian riders. 32 wins apiece for riders from each of those countries. We also had Jake Stapleton and Chris Birch from New Zealand and Australia win it in there too. So that makes up the history of the corduroy. Great weekend of riding, and I'll throw it back to Pack to sign off.
Blair, what a great 4 days here in the Halliburton Highlands, from our super demo ride days to the 3 days of competition, some of the other activities that took place. And this is a marvelous off-road motorcycle tradition that started back in 1953 when the British Empire Motor Club organized the very first corduroy enduro. Our thanks to the volunteers, the some 100 that made this event possible. Also to our fellow announcers, Demi Shalkas and Natasha LaChapelle and the entire Ballistic crew. What a great weekend. So we bid you farewell from the 66 Promation Corduroy Enduro presented by GP Bikes.